Avoidants always run from connection. Until you do this, let me ask you something. How many times have you pushed someone away knowing deep down you wanted them close? How many times have you told yourself, I just need space, when in reality what you needed was to stop running? We don't run from connection because we don't want love. We run because we fear what love requires, vulnerability. Somewhere along the way, we learned that attachment meant risk, that if we let someone in too close, they'd see the real us and maybe leave. So we build walls. We keep people at arm's length. We convince ourselves that we're better alone. But let me tell you, that's a lie. The truth is, avoidance isn't freedom. It's a prison disguised as protection. You don't feel free when you run. You feel alone. And as long as you let that pattern control you, you will sabotage the very thing you crave, deep soul-level connection. So what's the shift? How do you stop running? You must rewire the meaning you've attached to connection. Connection is not a threat. It's your path to true freedom. The moment you stop seeing closeness as a loss of control and start seeing it as the ultimate power, you win. Here's your challenge. Next time you want to run, lean in instead. Feel the discomfort, breathe through it, and stay. Because on the other side of that resistance is everything you've ever wanted. It's time to stop running. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to step into the life that's waiting for you. Are you ready? Avoidance isn't freedom. It's fear in disguise. Many people who struggle with avoidance believe they are choosing independence. They tell themselves they are simply wired differently, that they function better alone, that deep connection is something other people crave, but not them. They say they just don't need relationships the way others do, that they feel suffocated when things get too close. But beneath that logic, beneath that story they've repeated to themselves for years, there is something deeper running the show. Fear. Fear is tricky. It doesn't always show up as a racing heart or a panic response. Sometimes fear disguises itself as control. It makes you believe you are the one choosing to keep your distance, that you are above all the emotional chaos that comes with intimacy. You pride yourself on your ability to be self-sufficient, on the fact that you don't need anyone. But is that really the truth? Or is it the narrative you've built to protect yourself from the one thing that scares you most? Being truly seen, being deeply connected, being vulnerable. Avoidants often don't even realize they are afraid. That's because they've mastered the art of rationalization. They tell themselves they are just private people. They convince themselves that relationships are more trouble than they're worth, that emotions are messy, that needing someone is weakness. But let's be honest, what's really happening every time they start to feel too close, too exposed, too emotionally entangled, their brain sounds an alarm. Danger, pull back, create space, shut down. This isn't freedom. It's survival mode. It's a pattern, a deeply ingrained coping mechanism that developed long ago. Maybe in childhood when emotional closeness felt unsafe. Maybe in past relationships when trust was broken. Maybe somewhere along the way they learned that attachment equals pain. So their subconscious mind found a way to avoid that pain at all costs. And the cost is high. When you believe avoidance is freedom, you never get to experience the fullness of what life has to offer. You might avoid hurt, but you also avoid joy. You might protect yourself from rejection, but you also keep yourself from experiencing deep love. You stay in control, but you also stay disconnected. And here's the kicker. You're not actually in control at all. Your fear is. True freedom doesn't come from running. It comes from having the courage to stay, to sit with the discomfort, to allow yourself to be seen even when it terrifies you. It comes from recognizing that the walls you've built to keep others out are the same walls that are keeping you trapped. And until you break those walls down, you will continue to repeat the same cycle. Meeting people, feeling the spark, pulling away the moment things get real, then convincing yourself that relationships just aren't for you. But that's a lie. Relationships are for you. Love is for you. Deep connection is for you. The question is, will you allow yourself to receive it? Will you challenge the part of you that wants to run? Because running isn't the answer. It never was. It never will be. The walls you build for protection become your prison. In the beginning, they seem like a defense mechanism, a way to keep yourself safe from emotional pain, betrayal, or disappointment. Maybe you put them up after a heartbreak, after a childhood where love felt conditional, or after a series of relationships where you felt like you were always the one giving more. At first, those walls feel like strength. They feel like a way to maintain control, to prevent yourself from being hurt again. But over time, what started as a protective measure becomes the very thing that isolates you from the deep connection you secretly crave. Avoidants often don't realize they're trapped because the walls they build give them a sense of power. They tell themselves, I don't let people in because I choose not to, not because I'm afraid. They convince themselves that staying emotionally detached is a sign of independence, that needing someone makes them weak, that relationships are more trouble than they're worth, but this belief is a form of self-deception. It's not that they don't need connection, it's that they fear what comes with it, the possibility of rejection, the risk of being fully seen, the vulnerability of allowing someone close enough to hurt them. What they fail to recognize is that the same walls keeping out pain are also keeping out love, intimacy, and fulfillment. You can't selectively block emotions. When you shut down the part of you that feels hurt, you also shut down the part of you that feels joy, excitement, and deep connection. You may think you're avoiding suffering, but in reality, you're numbing yourself to everything, including the very experiences that make life meaningful. And the worst part, those walls don't just affect romantic relationships. They impact friendships, family dynamics, even your ability to trust and connect with yourself. When you train yourself to suppress emotions, to withdraw at the first sign of closeness, you condition yourself to live in a constant state of detachment. You become someone who doesn't reach out, who keeps conversations surface level, who avoids any situation that requires real emotional investment. Over time, this isolation becomes your new normal. It feels safe, but is it really? Think about the most powerful moments in life, the ones that made you feel truly alive. Were you alone or were you connected to someone? Chances are those moments were filled with love, laughter, shared experiences, and a sense of belonging. Human beings are wired for connection. No matter how much we try to convince ourselves otherwise, we are not meant to navigate this world in isolation. The truth is, your walls are not protecting you. They're suffocating you. They are keeping you from experiencing the very thing you desire most, to be seen, to be understood, to be deeply loved. You might think you're avoiding heartbreak, but what you're really avoiding is life itself. You might think you're in control, but in reality, you're a prisoner of your own fear. So the question becomes, how long will you keep living this way? How long will you let your past define your future? Because at some point you have to make a choice. You can continue building your walls higher, or you can start tearing them down. You can keep running from connection, or you can take a chance on something real. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it requires vulnerability. But what's the alternative? A life spent hiding? A life filled with missed opportunities, unspoken words, and regrets? You are not meant to live in a cage of your own making. The walls you've built don't have to define you. You put them up, which means you have the power to take them down. And when you do, you'll realize that what you were protecting yourself from was never as scary as you thought. What's truly terrifying is the idea of looking back years from now and realizing you never fully lived. Rewire your belief about connection. For so many people who struggle with avoidance, connection has been wired in their minds as something dangerous, something that requires too much, takes too much, and ultimately leads to pain. They see closeness as a loss of freedom, vulnerability as a risk, and emotional dependence as weakness. But these are not facts, they are beliefs. And beliefs are simply thoughts you've repeated so many times that they feel like the truth. But what if they weren't? What if everything you thought you knew about connection was wrong? From a young age, we start forming beliefs about relationships based on what we experience, what we observe, and what we're taught. Maybe you grew up in a home where love was inconsistent or conditional. Maybe you learned that being vulnerable meant being hurt, that opening up led to disappointment, or that trusting someone always came with a price. Without even realizing it, your mind linked connection with pain, so it makes perfect sense that as an adult, you pull away when things start to feel too close. Your brain isn't trying to sabotage you, it's trying to protect you based on the blueprint it was given. But here's what you need to understand. That blueprint can be rewritten. Just because connection felt dangerous in the past doesn't mean it actually is dangerous. Just because you've been hurt before doesn't mean you'll always be hurt. The problem isn't connection itself. The problem is the meaning you've attached to it. You spent years telling yourself that closeness means sacrifice, that needing someone makes you weak, that emotions make things messy. But what if instead you taught yourself something new? What if you rewired your mind to believe that connection isn't a loss of freedom, but the key to it? Think about it. Some of the most successful, fulfilled, and powerful people in the world have one thing in common: deep, meaningful relationships. They don't run from connection, they embrace it. They understand that true strength isn't about shutting people out, it's about letting the right people in. They know that real freedom isn't about standing alone, it's about building a foundation so strong that you never have to stand alone. You have to start questioning the stories you've been telling yourself. Every time your instinct is to withdraw, to shut down, to keep things surface level, pause and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What do I believe will happen if I truly let someone in? Will they see my flaws? Will they leave? Will I lose myself? And then go even deeper. Is that actually true? Or is it just a fear I've carried for so long that I've mistaken it for reality? The only way to break free from avoidance is to change what connection means to you. Instead of seeing it as something that drains you, start seeing it as something that fuels you. Instead of believing it will make you weak, understand that it makes you stronger. Instead of assuming that closeness will lead to pain, recognize that lack of closeness is already causing pain. Because deep down you know that the walls you've built are keeping you from the love and fulfillment you truly want. Rewiring your belief system doesn't happen overnight. It takes conscious effort. It takes sitting in discomfort, challenging your thoughts, and taking small steps toward connection, even when it feels unnatural. It means recognizing that your instinct to push people away isn't who you are. It's just a program your brain is running, and like any program, it can be rewritten. Imagine what your life would look like if you truly believed that connection was a source of power instead of a threat. Imagine how much richer your experiences would be, how much deeper your relationships could go, how much more fulfilled you would feel if you stopped running from what you were designed to embrace. That reality is possible, but it starts with changing the way you think. Because once you shift your belief about connection, everything else changes with it. Lean into discomfort instead of running. For someone who has spent their life avoiding deep connection, the idea of staying present when things feel emotionally overwhelming can seem impossible. Avoidants have spent years mastering the art of detachment, believing that when discomfort arises, the best solution is to retreat, emotionally, mentally, or even physically. This response becomes automatic, a deeply ingrained habit reinforced over time. The moment a conversation gets too vulnerable, the moment a relationship starts feeling too intense, the moment someone expresses a need for more closeness, avoidance kicks in. It might look like shutting down emotionally, creating distance, making excuses, or even convincing yourself that you're just not feeling it anymore. But here's the truth. That urge to run isn't a reflection of the relationship. It's a reflection of your internal wiring. Your mind has been trained to equate emotional closeness with risk, and the moment that risk feels real, your instinct is to escape. This is where the real work begins. Because if you don't interrupt this pattern, if you don't challenge the part of you that always wants to run, you will continue repeating the same cycle. Meeting people, feeling the initial connection, then sabotaging it the moment it demands something deeper. Discomfort isn't a sign that something is wrong, it's a sign that something is shifting, and growth always requires discomfort. Every meaningful transformation in life, whether in relationships, career, or personal development, demands that you push beyond your comfort zone, but avoidance keeps you trapped in the illusion that staying comfortable is the goal. That's why so many avoidants find themselves stuck in the same patterns, never fully experiencing the depth of love and connection they secretly crave. They want connection, but they're terrified of what it requires. Here's what needs to change. Instead of seeing discomfort as a reason to leave, start seeing it as a reason to stay. Instead of interpreting emotional intensity as a red flag, start recognizing it as an opportunity to heal. Because the discomfort you feel in moments of closeness isn't a warning, it's a wound. A wound that's asking to be acknowledged, processed, and worked through. And the only way to heal it is to lean in. Leaning in means pausing when your instinct is to shut down. It means sitting with the discomfort instead of running from it. The next time you feel the urge to withdraw, ask yourself, what am I afraid of right now? What is my brain trying to protect me from? Is this person actually a threat, or is my past experience making it feel that way? By questioning your reaction instead of blindly following it, you create space for change. And here's something most avoidants don't realize. Every time you lean in instead of pulling away, you rewire your brain. The more you practice staying present in moments of vulnerability, the more you teach yourself that connection is safe, that emotions don't have to be overwhelming, that you don't have to run. Over time, what once felt intolerable starts to feel natural. What once triggered fear begins to feel normal. And that's when real transformation happens. Most people assume that healing happens before connection, but the truth is healing happens through connection. You don't wait until you're fixed to be in a healthy relationship. You allow a healthy relationship to help you grow. But that can only happen if you stop running the moment things get real. So the next time you feel the discomfort rising, take a breath, stay present. Remind yourself that this feeling isn't permanent. It's just a signal that you're stepping outside of your old patterns. And that's a good thing, because the life you want, the deep love you crave, the true intimacy that feels safe and fulfilling, it's on the other side of that resistance. The only way to get there is to stop running and start leaning in. True freedom comes from facing what you fear most. Avoidants often believe that freedom means staying unattached, unbothered, and independent. They convince themselves that emotional distance gives them control over their lives, that avoiding deep relationships keeps them from being hurt, and that by keeping their options open, they are somehow free. But this belief is a lie, because the truth is, avoidance isn't freedom, it's fear. And real freedom doesn't come from running away. It comes from standing in the fire of what you fear most and realizing that you can handle it. Avoidants fear many things: vulnerability, emotional dependence, rejection, being seen too deeply, losing control. But at the root of all these fears is one thing: intimacy, because intimacy requires the one thing avoidance is designed to prevent: being known. When you let someone truly see you, you open yourself up to both love and loss, both acceptance and rejection, both connection and pain. And for someone who has spent years avoiding those risks, intimacy feels like a trap rather than a gift. But here's what's important to understand. Avoiding pain doesn't prevent it. It only delays it. You might think you're protecting yourself by keeping your heart guarded, but in reality, you're creating a different kind of suffering, one of loneliness, missed opportunities, and emotional stagnation, because no matter how much you tell yourself that you don't need deep relationships, there will always be a part of you that craves them. And that's why real freedom isn't about escaping connection. It's about facing the fear of connection head on. It's about proving to yourself that intimacy isn't something that takes from you, it's something that gives to you. When you stop running and start leaning in, you begin to see that the love you've been avoiding is actually the thing that will set you free. True freedom means making choices from a place of empowerment rather than fear. It means choosing connection not because you have to, but because you want to. It means letting yourself experience love fully without always planning an escape route. It means realizing that needing someone isn't weakness, it's human. That vulnerability isn't a threat, it's the foundation of every meaningful relationship. And that commitment doesn't take away your power, it deepens it. Think about the relationships in your life. How many times have you pulled away the moment things got too close? How many potential connections have you cut short because your fear convinced you that leaving was the safer option? And where has that left you? Has it given you the peace you were looking for? Or has it left you with a sense of emptiness that you can't quite explain? Avoidance tricks you into believing that running will make you, for the reality is the more you run, the more trapped you become. Trapped in your own patterns, trapped in your own loneliness, trapped in the same cycle of pushing people away, then wondering why you feel disconnected. Freedom comes when you break that cycle, when you stop letting fear dictate your choices, when you sit with discomfort instead of numbing it, when you choose to let someone in even when every part of you wants to run. That is real strength, that is real power, and that is where true freedom begins. Because the life you want, the one filled with love, passion, and deep, meaningful relationships, is on the other side of your fear. And the only way to get there is to stop running and start facing it. Everything in life comes down to one thing: your choices. You can continue letting fear drive you, convincing yourself that avoidance is freedom, that running is safer than staying, that emotional distance is the key to control. Or you can choose something different. You can choose to face what you've been running from. You can choose to lean into discomfort, to rewrite the story you've been telling yourself, to break free from the patterns that have kept you trapped. Because real freedom isn't about escaping connection. It's about embracing it. It's about understanding that love isn't something that takes away your power, but something that amplifies it. It's about realizing that vulnerability isn't a weakness. It's the bridge to everything you truly desire. And most importantly, it's about making the decision to stop running once and for all. So today I challenge you. Take one step, just one. The next time your instinct is to pull away, stay. The next time fear tells you to shut down, pause. The next time you feel the discomfort rising, lean in instead of running. Because every time you do, you are rewriting your future. You are proving to yourself that connection is not the enemy. It's the key to your greatest growth, your deepest joy, and the kind of love that changes everything. Thank you for your time, your energy, and for showing up today. My hope is that something in this message sparks a shift within you, that you walk away with a new perspective, a new challenge, and the courage to take that first step toward the connection you deserve. Because you are capable of more than you think, and your greatest breakthrough, it's waiting on the other side of fear. Thank you.